Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Shri Harinam
Sankirtan
Sankirtan
ki
ki
jai.
That was very nice. Thank you. Very nice. So, Hare Krishna, everyone. How nice to be here with you at the house of Baladev Ananda Prabhu and Mataji Sundari Radha. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Well, I was asked to say something about the glories of Vrindavan Dham. Was that your idea? That was. Okay. That's nice. So we can try and say something. The glories of Vrindavan are limitless, but certainly we can try to say something, at least a little drop from the ocean. I thought, first of all, I could read a few verses from the Bhagavatam. Yeah, and then say a few words, and then we'll just see sort of where it takes us, kind of. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyachade Shatarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchkalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha, Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Offering our respects to all the devotees, Hare Krishna, Hare. So the glories of Vrindavan Dham. I'll read just a few verses from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 15. The killing of Dhanuka, the ass demon. And I'll begin with verse 2, and I'll just read a few verses, we'll see. So verse 2, I'll read the Sanskrit to start off with. Tanmadavo venam udirayan vridito gopir grinad bi swayasho balanvita pashun puraskritya pashavyam avishad vihartu kama kusumakaram vanam. It's so nice. We get the close association of the devotee. there's always room for one more. So here's the translation of this verse. So, well, what's happening is Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram and the cowherd boys and the cows, they're now moving around the Vraj Mandal, the greater area of Sri Vrindavan Dham, and they've passed Govardhan Hill, and they're coming south, more or less south. What would you say? Sort of southwest, perhaps, but in kind of southerly direction going down. And they have come to a place, nice place, named Talavan. I'm sure many of you have been to Talavan. Nice place. Yes. And anyway, that's where Dhenukasura is living. We're not, well, we'll see how it goes, but I'm not really intending telling the whole story of Dhenukasura. Although we could, but anyway, we're focusing on Vrindavan Dham first and foremost. So now here at the beginning of this chapter 15 of the 10th canto, Krishna and Balaram, cowherd boys, cows, they're coming down, they've passed Govardhan Hill, and now they are approaching or just sort of parallel with Talavan. And Lord Krishna, because Lord Krishna knows that just now coming is a pastime, killing of Dhenukasura, which features Lord Balaram. Generally, the different pastimes feature Lord Krishna mainly, but now this one, it features Lord Balaram. So here the focus is on Lord Balaram, but in the context of the beauty, the attractiveness of Vrindavan, of Vraj Mandala. So here then translation says, thus desiring to enjoy pastimes, Lord Madhava, sounding his flute, surrounded by cowherd boys who were chanting his glories, and accompanied by Lord Baladev, kept the cows before him and entered the Vrindavan forest, which was full of flowers and rich with nourishment for the animals. You know, I imagine you've all been to Vrindavan at least, if not maybe specifically Talavan. So you would have seen that Vrindavan area, generally speaking, at this point, on the surface, doesn't really look so nice. There are areas which are nice, but they tend to be a bit small. And otherwise, it's kind of, particularly Vrindavan town, since the first time I went there, 1976, and now, it's amazing, the transformation, the high rise, big blocks of this and that. But, I'm just mentioning this because what we're going to read here, these few verses which describe the beauty of Vrindavan Dham, it's still there. It's still there. But Well, you could say, well, you need the eyes to see it. You need the eyes to see it. Or alternatively, if you're in the right consciousness as much as you're able to be, then you can feel that this is actually a beautiful and wonderful place, and sort of overlook what is sometimes, it's a bit too built up or something like that. So as we're reading there's just a few verses, try and just consider like that it's not exactly that Vrindavan, the beauty of Vrindavan has been lost, but it's just now that it's hidden from the eyes of, many people at least. Yeah. So here we go. Now I'm going to read the next verse 3. I'll just read the translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead looked over that forest, which resounded with the charming sounds of bees, animals, and birds, and which was enhanced by a lake whose clear water resembled the minds of great souls, and by a breeze carrying the fragrance of 100-petaled lotuses. Seeing all this, Lord Krishna decided to enjoy the auspicious atmosphere. Right, and verse 4. The primeval Lord saw that the stately trees, with their beautiful reddish buds and their heavy burden of fruits and flowers, were bending down to touch his feet with the tips of their branches. Thus he smiled gently and addressed his elder brother. And of course, the purport is not by Srila Prabhupada, because this is the 15th chapter. Prabhupada, his work, direct work, finished at the end of the 13th chapter. So this is our BBT commentators, but it's very nice. The verse says that the fruits and flowers, the trees, they have their branches, and on the branches are lots of fruits and flowers. And they're bending down to touch his feet with the tips of his branches. And in the purport it says that they're actually trying to do that consciously. It's not just, that there were trees with lots of fruits, and therefore the branches were sort of hanging down, and you can say, oh, it looks like they're trying to touch Krishna's feet. They were actually trying to touch Krishna's feet, and Balaram's feet also. Verse 5. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O greatest of lords. He is addressing Lord Balaram. O greatest of lords means Lord Baladev. Yeah. O greatest of lords, Baladev, just see how these trees are bowing their heads at your lotus feet, which are worshipable by the immortal demigods. The trees are offering you their fruits and flowers to eradicate the dark ignorance that has caused their birth as trees. We were in Soho Street last week, a week ago, more or less, and we were reading the first canto, chapter 9. And there was mention, one verse, well, it's Bhishmadev is glorifying Lord Krishna just before he passes away. And he talks of Krishna's lotus feet. And Srila Prabhupada gives a fairly extensive purport, actually. And Prabhupada makes the point, I mean, it's a very interesting point, that for the devotees, well, the verse was saying the devotees focus on the Lord's lotus feet. So Prabhupada explains that actually the devotees are satisfied, fully satisfied, just by seeing the Lord's lotus feet only. They're not thinking that, okay, here we go. We begin at the bottom with the lotus feet, and then we come up. No. Prabhupada was saying that the devotees, they feel that's enough to see the lotus feet. That they're just fully satisfied. They don't feel that they need to see even Krishna's face. As long as they can see his feet, that's enough. They are happy, just fully happy. That's interesting, isn't it? That's nice. Right, so, yes. And in the purport, I almost spontaneously said, Prabhupada says, but anyway, our BBT devotees say that the trees, those trees, they're bowing down by the weight of their fruits and flowers, bowing down at Balaram's, or Krishna and Balaram's lotus feet, but Krishna's here particularly saying Lord Balaram's lotus feet. But the trees are thinking that because in the past we committed offenses, we sort of only got birth as trees. Yeah, because of past offenses, they'd now taken birth as trees, and they couldn't accompany Krishna as he's wandering around Vrindavan. There's also a description, though, that these trees, as this verse and the previous verse said, they have their fruits and they have flowers too. Fruits and flowers. And the flowers, when the flowers see that here comes Krishna, Krishna is approaching, walking on a path or just walking through. So they see, here comes Krishna. And they see where, where he is going to step. So as Krishna is approaching, the flowers, they throw themselves onto the path where Krishna is coming. So you'll step on them. And he does. And then you know what he does? They get up. And they go running around to where he's going to step, in a few steps. Yeah, and then he steps on them again. And he carries on, and they go running around. This is flower Pushpa Leela, you could say. Yes, right. And it's also said that the rice, but other foodstuffs also, but particularly the rice is mentioned, that the rice is picked or gathered, and then Mother Yashoda cooks it for Krishna. Krishna likes rice. Yeah. I mean, Krishna likes anything as long as there's bhakti. But he likes rice too, as long as there's bhakti. You know, in South Africa, I've had an interesting experience. Sometimes I ask the devotees, including the children, what's your favorite prasadam? Or what's your favorite prasadam? Dal puri. With something?
Usually gros
Oh, gros pois. If you're not Mauritian, you wouldn't know. I like it too. I mean, dal puri is just great. So, but anyway, the rice. You know, the flowers have their relationship with their service to Krishna. And, you know, when Krishna just really walks on, just away, the flowers come back and get onto the trees again. That's home for them. So the rice, the grains of rice, they fight with each other. Who will be first into the pot to be cooked for Krishna? They fight. And then they're cooked and they're served to Krishna and Krishna eats them. That's their program. And then what happens now? Krishna ate them. What happens now? Well, the rice manifests again. Yeah. And it just goes on. That's their life, their way of life, being cooked for Krishna every day. And manifesting again. So anyway, so the point is made here. Prabhupada makes the point, Hare Krishna, that I did that deliberately. That, yeah, the trees think that because of their offenses, they are just trees. Yeah. You know, one devotee asked Prabhupada, or said to Prabhupada once, that Srila Prabhupada, I'm so lowly, I'm so fallen, I'm so useless. I think when I go back to Godhead, I'll just be a blade of grass. He's trying to be humble. Just a blade of grass, you know, sort of nothing, nobody. And Prabhupada responded, you would be so fortunate. So anyway, trees think we were offensive, so we're just trees. But the purport says that all the entities basically were great souls who could personally associate with the Lord. Yeah. So the trees consider themselves to be in tamagun, and they're trying to purify themselves by bowing down at the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram. But Lord Krishna is very affectionate towards them and praises their service. Verse 6, O original personality, and again, this is Krishna speaking, addressing Balaram. O original personality, these bees must all be great sages and most elevated devotees of yours, for they're worshipping you by following you along the path and chanting your glories, which are themselves a holy place for the entire world. Though you have disguised yourself within this forest, O sinless one, they refuse to abandon you, their worshipable Lord. Okay, let's see, am I going? No, that's it. So the bees, yes, the bees, they're great sages, or they were. They were great sages who perfected the process of chanting the glories of the Lord. So then they were given places in Vrindavan as bees. And it may just sound, they're buzzing around, it may just sound like buzz, 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 something like that. But if you're tuned in, and if you listen, you'll hear that they're Vedic hymns in glorification of the Lord. If you don't listen, you're just sort of preoccupied otherwise, then you'll think, oh yeah, buzz, buzz, buzz. But actually, they're glorifying, chanting hymns and different verses, explaining, pointing out different features, characteristics of the Lord, and how beautiful he is and how amazing his personality is. But you've got to be tuned in. If you're not tuned in, it's just buzz, buzz, buzz. Yeah, that's the thing. Got to be tuned in. So, devotees, that's a few verses. I got a few more from somewhere else to read, which I'll read in due course, but just for the time being, let me mention a couple of other things. One thing I want to mention, we're talking about the glories of Vrindavan Dham. So one thing I want to mention is just something pointing out how incredibly special Vrindavan Dham is. I mean, we all know it's special. How many times have we heard it's special? We've heard plenty of times that it's special. It's sort of like, we don't need to be told it's special. We already know. But Vrindavan is so special, devotees. Listen to this. That when Krishna left Vrindavan and went to Mathura, the Brijbasis stayed in Vrindavan. And I assume you know the area. From Vrindavan to Mathura, because Krishna was just in Mathura, and he was in Mathura for like 25, 26 years. You can walk to Mathura from Vrindavan. It's not that far. It's 15 kilometers basically. So you can walk. If you walk fast, you'll get there in, say, like if you're used to doing Govardhan Parikrama a bit. Have you done Govardhan Parikrama?
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry?
I think so, yeah. That's what,
Oh, you think so?
I think it's when I was younger. Like, really small.
You've done Govardhan Parikrama? You've never done? Oh my gosh. Why not? Anyway, okay. Hare Krishna, everyone. Sublog. Betiye up. Relax. You know what's going to happen to you, don't you? Someone's going to open the door. So yeah, if you've done Govardhan, yeah. You've done Govardhan Parikrama, right?
Yes.
And you've done Govardhan Parikrama, yeah. So you know what it's like. It's 23 kilometers, something along those lines. And you can do it in a day. I mean, if you're old like me, it's a bit of an endeavor. But if you're young like you, it's a breeze. I remember the first time I did it. It was a long time ago, like when it was more than 30 years ago. And we, for some reason, I don't know why, but we just decided to go around quickly, like as fast as we could walk. It took us, I don't think we stopped. It took us 4.5 hours, about 4.5 hours, and we were going. And at the end, I had to take rest for a couple of days because, we just over-endeavored. And even now we do it in 2 days. Do a half, then take a break for a couple of days, do the second half, and it's okay. So to walk from Vrindavan to Mathura is less. It's 15 kilometers. Mm-hmm. So why didn't the gopis and Nanda Maharaj, Mother Yashoda, and everyone, why didn't they just walk to Mathura? Mm-hmm. They all knew Krishna was there. Mm-hmm. Isn't that an interesting question? Yeah. Well, they didn't. They didn't at all do it because of Vrindavan. Vrindavan is so special that they were lamenting, oh, Krishna, how they were feeling separation from Krishna. It was truly extreme, beyond extreme. We cannot imagine really how they felt. But they were missing Krishna and they wanted to see Krishna. They really, really, really wanted to see him. And they could have just walked down the road and seen him. And they knew he was there, and why not? Because they didn't want to leave Vrindavan. Anyway, it's just something you can think about. It's an interesting fact that because of the nature of Vrindavan, they were not prepared, despite, feelings of like desperation, you could say, in separation from Krishna. But they didn't want to walk. Just, like a 4-hour walk, easy. For 5-hour walk, no problem. Why don't you just take a buffalo cart? I took a buffalo cart once from Vrindavan to Radhakund. It's more than 20 kilometers. We made it in one day. Left kind of early morning, 6-ish or something, and got there. It wasn't dark yet. And, they've got buffaloes, they've got bullocks and carts, and they got all these things. And it's just not a big deal at all. But they didn't. They didn't. For all those years. Finally, they met in Kurukshetra. And what a reunion. Srila Prabhupada, sort of the master of understatement or something like that. Prabhupada says, when they met in Kurukshetra, it was a very touching scene. That's extreme understatement. So anyway, Vrindavan, it's because Vrindavan is Vrindavan. And Vrindavan's also non-different from Krishna. And it's special. And they were feeling his presence, but they were missing him. I mean, it's a whole subject in itself, worthy of deep examination. But the fact is, because Vrindavan is so special, they did not leave Vrindavan even though they were just totally desperate to see Krishna again. Haribol, what do you think? It's interesting, isn't it? It's really interesting. Right. So Vrindavan's special. In fact, I mean, we're saying a few words how Vrindavan's special. That's okay. But these are just hints, little hints that maybe give us little flashes of insight into something which is sort of just astronomical in terms of its extent, the glories, the nature of Vrindavan Dham. So, when Uddhava came to Nandagram, there's a place there, Uddhava Kiri, just sort of out a little bit, I don't know, not more than maybe a kilometre out from the main hill. Actually, I remember, I don't know if you went in those days, but like 30 years ago, when I really started sort of exploring Vraj Mandala, Uddhava Kiri, well, there was a forest of thorn trees. And we would go through sometimes, and there's like bodies of water, and what a thing to get through to Uddhava Kiri. And when you got through, you really felt like, we made it. We really are somewhere special. Now you can just walk out in 5 minutes, or less. Anyway, it's nice. So, at Uddhava Kiri, Uddhava met the gopis. He went all over Nandagram and met all the Brijbasis and gave them all messages from Krishna. But for the gopis, he went out there to Uddhava Kiri. It's just a little bit away from the hill and the village. And he gave them the messages, and he stayed there and associated with them and just witnessed their manifestations of their states of mind. Like, I'm sure you know how Radharani took a bee to be a messenger from Krishna. Yeah. So the bee was a bee, just sort of a bee. He wasn't exactly a messenger from Krishna. Maybe he was too, but he's also presented as just being one of the local bees. But Radharani thought that he's a messenger from Krishna. And so first of all, she chastised him. That look at you. You're just like Krishna. Krishna would go from girl to girl and enjoy with them. Enjoy one, then leave her and just go to another. And enjoy with her, then leave her, go to another. And you're like him, because you go from flower to flower. And you take the nectar from a flower. When you've taken it all and the flower's got no nectar left, you just abandon the flower. You don't even say thank you. And you go to the next flower. So you're just like Krishna. So she said, you're the unreliable servant of an unreliable master. Really, telling the bee off. And then suddenly the bee zoomed away. And she thought, oh, he's gone back to tell Krishna what I said. All these sort of rude things or whatever you'd say. These unpleasant things I said about Krishna. oh no, what's Krishna going to think of me? So she was feeling bad like that, but then after a minute or something, the bee came back and she thought, oh, I'm getting another chance. Let me say nice things about the bee. So she said to the bee, you are really wonderful, just like your master Krishna. Yes. Just like Krishna wears a yellow dhoti, but beneath it he has his very dark feet, and above he has his very dark chest. So you look like that too, because bees have bands of colour, yellow and black. Oh, you look so nice. You look just like your master Krishna. Yeah, and things like that she said. And Uddhava witnessed all of this. And Uddhava had never seen anything like that. He had seen great devotees. He knew Nanda Maharaj very well. And Mother Yashoda, he knew them extremely well for years and years and just years. But he'd never seen such manifestations, expressions of love for Krishna. He'd just never seen them before. Just one little example we can give. Are you familiar with Prem Sarovar? Who's been to Prem Sarovar? I've been. Oh, okay. Anyway, you've been Prem Sarovar? Yeah. Nice place. So it was just sort of a hollow in the ground, basically, with some trees around it. And one day, Radha and Krishna were gathered. They were together on the banks of that sort of hollow. And Radharani was sitting on Krishna's lap. And one of the bees, actually, if you read enough, you'll find mention of one particular bee in Vrindavan. I mean, there are many bees, but there's one special bee. He's really big, like this big, and he's really fat, like this, from getting so much nectar. And he's so big like that he can't fly properly. He can't take off. Sort of half takes off and then he lands. So he goes like that, That's the way he goes. So this bee, Hare Krishna, Suswagatam. There's room, don't worry. There's tons of room. We're expecting another 20 people, at least. Just sit down and relax. Right. So the big bee at Prem Sarovar. The big bee at Prem Sarovar. Radha and Krishna are sitting there, Radharani's on Krishna's lap, and they're having some exchanges together. Suddenly the big bee comes. Boom. Boom. And kind of starts buzzing around Radharani. And Radharani becomes a little disturbed. And Krishna sees that, so he calls Madhu Mangal, his funny Brahmin friend, and asked, can you chase him away? So Madhu Mangal, with great flair and bravado and just making a whole scene about it, waving his chadar around. He chases the bee away. And then he comes back. Now the bee's gone. And one of the terms for a bee in sort of Brajabhasya, the local language, I don't know about Hindi so much, but is madhu. Because madhu means sweet. And bees are just totally, that's what they're into, sweetness. So they're called madhu sometimes. So Madhu Mangal came back. Right. Madhu is gone. Huh? Madhu has gone. Like, really strongly said it. Madhu has gone. And the thing is, Madhu is also a name of Krishna. Because who's sweeter than Krishna? He's sweeter than the sweetest bee or flower or honey or even sugar. He's the sweetest of the sweet. So Radharani took it that Krishna's gone, but she's sitting on Krishna's lap. So she started panicking, becoming anxious. Krishna's gone. He's gone. Krishna has gone. And Krishna said, no, I'm right here. You're sitting on my lap. But Radharani wouldn't accept it. No. Krishna's gone. And Krishna saying, no, look, I'm here. I'm right here. And Radharani said, you are not. You're an hallucination. You are not here. You've gone. Because Madhu Mangal said so, and he is a Brahmin. Whatever Brahmins say, it's true. And Krishna's saying, no, I'm here. Look, I'm here. Just look at me. No, she would say, you're a figment of my imagination. And Radharani started crying, and Krishna started crying. And their tears flowed into that hollow and became the waters of Prem Sarovar. So, So, anyway, Uddhava, he observed the incredible qualities of Srimati Radharani particularly, and actually of all the gopis. And he thought that I've never, ever seen any devotees at all like this. The different, in other words, the difference is very great between Vrindavan and even Dwaraka. The difference is very great. So when he left and went back to Mathura to join Krishna again, then as he's going, he's just thinking, these devotees, they're just such incredible devotees, just such amazing devotees. I need their mercy. I must get their mercy. So as he was passing Uddhava Kund, as he was passing sort of around the back of Govardhan Hill, the western side, say, not exactly western, but kind of western side, he passed by the area which is now Uddhava Kund. I'm sure many of you, if you've been to Govardhan Hill, you've been there. Very nice. So he passed by Uddhava Kund. I mean, it wasn't called Uddhava Kund at that time, but his remembrance of the gopis and all the Brijbasis there, but particularly the gopis, it just started overflowing. And he's sort of losing control. And so he prayed, and those prayers are there in the 10th canto. He prayed to become just a little, some grass or a little shrub, some little plant that just grows right down on the ground. Something like that. Just something small, nothing big. So that when the gopis walk by sometimes, and they may kick up some dust, and that dust may come. Well, first of all, they may even step on me, actually, and that would really be special. But even if they don't actually step on me, at least they may kick up some dust, and then the breeze may carry the dust, and it may land on my head. And what good fortune that would be for me. What good fortune. So, yes, the dust. Because all the dust in Vrindavan Dham has been trodden on by Krishna and the Brijvasis and the Gopis and Radharani. It all has been. So he wanted some of that dust. Either they step on his head and leave some dust, or they just kick up some dust and it lands on his head. And let me just tell you, it's sort of a joke, but I'm based in South Africa in a place called Durban. And Durban, if we translate it into sort of Hindi or something like that, Durban. You've heard of Vrindavan. This is Durban. Dur meaning very distant, long way away. Dur, bahut dur hai. Long way. And we say, and it's just a joke, but we say it's the most distant forest of Vraja. So the devotees, there was a time some devotees were suggesting, shall we say, that maybe when the wind is coming strongly enough from India across the Indian Ocean to the east coast of South Africa where Durban is, maybe some of the dust gets blown out. Yes. Right. So, yeah, he felt so much, what would you say, respect? Well, it's not exactly respect, but just appreciation. So much appreciation from Vrajmandala, for Vrajmandala, that just some dust. That's it. They don't even need to step on my head. If they do, well and good. But if not, at least some dust. So they say, it is said, that in Vrindavan, in Vrajmandala, there are 5 especially merciful people. Do you know who they are? Anyway, it's okay, I'll say. One is Govardhan, one is the Yamuna, one is Gopishwar, one is Vrinda Devi, that's 4. And the 5th one is the dust, Vrajaraj, that's the 5th. And they're particularly merciful people. In other words, the dust is not just some inanimate, just some dirt, or it's a being. Yes. And therefore you find here and there, not many, but you do find little shrines, which are just, a wall, and in the middle, inside the wall, is some dust. Yeah. Radha Damodar, there's a Vrajaraj temple just by Rupa Goswami's or Bhajan Kutir Samadhi there. And in the Sringavat, Nityanandavat temple, behind the Sringavat, sort of where the picture is, behind, there's a temple of for the dust of Vrindavan. Yeah. So that's Vrindavan. Vrindavan's very special. Yeah. Vrindavan is really extremely special. And of course, in Vrindavan, there are many famous pastimes. I mean, I'm sure you've heard so many, there's hundreds. But one I can just mention, even a little briefly, is, I'm sure you know the story of Sanatana Goswami and the touchstone.
Yeah.
You know that story. I'll just mention it, that Sanatana Goswami had a touchstone. Actually, in Vrindavan, all the stones are touchstones, actually. And the ground is Chintamani. But anyway, he had a touchstone. And because he's a great devotee, he's got no interest in touchstone, turning things to gold, you know. Gold computer, Haribol, gold bead bag. So he just put it in the rubbish heap. He wasn't interested. And one Shivite came, who somehow had heard about the touchstone, and asked him, Sanatana Goswami, I hear you got a touchstone. Yeah. Can I see it? And Sanatana Goswami says, see it, you can have it. It's in the rubbish heap. And the fellow couldn't believe it. It's my lucky day to end all days, the luckiest day of my life. And he took the touchstone and he was touching it to different things. And they turned into gold. Golden telephone, golden iPhone, golden devotee, etc. And he was thinking, wow, this is just the best. It is just incredibly, wonderfully good. But then he thought, wait a minute, if it's so valuable, why was Sanatana Goswami keeping it in his rubbish heap? Good question. So he went back and asked, why? And Sanatana Goswami said, because, who needs that? I've got something much better. Just much better. So, this is rubbish. And the man said, well, can you give me that? And Sanatana Goswami said, sure, but you'll have to throw away the touchstone. He threw it into the Yamuna, and Sanatana Goswami gave him the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Yes, right. So that's nice. That's an old story that Prabhupada told on a number of occasions, actually. And yesterday was Sanatana Goswami's disappearance day. Right. Can I tell you another Sanatana Goswami story?
Yes.
There's a number of them. Sanatana Goswami was living by Shamakund, actually, sort of by the Sangam where the kunds meet, but actually on the Shamakund side. And he would, from time to time, Srila Rupa Goswami would come to him and bring something he'd written and ask Sanatana Goswami, could you edit it? Could you check it? Let me know what you think, if we should alter anything. So one time, Rupa Goswami came and gave Sanatana Goswami It's a poem. It's called Chatu Pushpanjali. It's available. It's there. It's in one of the collections. I forget which collection, but it's there. 4 verses, which are like an offering of flowers at the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. So he asked Sanatana Goswami, can you please check it and, correct it if there's something wrong? And Sanatana said, sure. But his feeling, his understanding was, and his experience was, because he checked many things that Rupa Goswami had read, is that everything's perfect. If Rupa Goswami writes it, it's perfect. So, but anyway, he said, yes, sure, of course. So Rupa Goswami left, Sanatana started reading, and in the first verse, the end of the first verse, he found a statement, one line, which says that Radharani has beautiful, long, black hair, and she ties it in one single plait. Is that the right word, ladies? A plait. One single plait down, which hangs down her back, long. And when she walks, the plait moves. And when it moves, it looks like a black snake. I'm sure you've heard this story before. But Prabhupada said repetition of a good thing is good. So Sanatana Goswami read this and thought, what? He said that Radharani, her hair looks like a snake, a black snake. That's not very nice. It's not a nice thing to say about Radharani. But he's Rupa Goswami. How could he make a mistake? But still, it's not a nice thing to say. So Sanatana Goswami became perplexed, greatly perplexed. He just didn't know what to do. So after some days, Rupa Goswami came back and said, all right, have you finished checking my book? Can I take it now? We want to publish it. And Sanatana Goswami said, yes, well, almost. I'm just about there. Just hang on. And he's really perplexed. He went out and sat on the bank of Shamakund there, just overlooking what they call Govinda Ghat. And he was thinking, I don't know what I'm going to tell him. I don't want to insult him. I don't want to offend him. But still, it just seems very strange to me. Black snake Radharani. How could he say that? So he's sitting there with the manuscript, looking out over the Kund, looking at the manuscript. Then when he looked up over the Kund, a group of village girls came to the edge of the Kund and started having a ball game, throwing a ball back and forth, jumping up and down, laughing and shouting. And Sanatana Goswami, looking at them, he saw one girl who had her back to him, that a snake started climbing up her back, because snakes can do that. They can climb. And was going to bite the back of her neck. So Sanatana Goswami jumped up and shouted, snake, snake, look out, look out. And all the girls were shocked. Where's the snake? Where's the snake? On her back. And they looked on her back. And they just started roaring with laughter. That's not a snake. It's her hair. And they laughed and laughed, and Sanatana Goswami felt embarrassed. But then suddenly, they vanished. They didn't just run off quickly. Suddenly, they just weren't there. And he understood that was Srimati Radharani and the gopis. And they appeared to me like that, just to show me that whatever Rupa Goswami says is right. So then Rupa Goswami came up and said, I need to take this manuscript. I have to take it. Haven't you finished with it yet? And Sanatan said, yeah, just finished. Just finished. Here, there you go. And Srila Rupa Goswami said, what do you think of it? Do you like it? And Sanatan Goswami said, it is just wonderful. It is just wonderful. Particularly the part about Radharani's hair looks like a black snake. That's just great. So you can read it. It's available here and there. Yeah, right. So the last thing I'll mention, there's a story. It's in our Govardhan book, if any of you have it. There's a story. No, actually, it's in our Vrindavan book. There's a story that one time all the holy places got together and they had an election. Which is the greatest holy place, the most wonderful, the most important? And Prayag got voted in as the most important. So Prayag's going around sort of like, I'm pretty cool, aren't I? Yeah, look at me, I'm the most important. Haribol. Haribol to me. And then, so, oh, Govinath, Haribol. Some crisis. Yeah. So then Prayag noticed, wait a minute. All the holy places were here. They all voted me in. But Vrindavan is not here. What's going on? Is Vrindavan trying to escape and avoid recognizing me as the topmost place? So he went to Krishna and complained. Prayag went to Krishna and complained that, there we were. I was elected the topmost holy place, but Vrindavan was not there. It's not very good. So I want you to do something about it, he said to Krishna. And then he noticed Krishna was crying. And Prayag's bewildered. Why? Why is Krishna crying? And Krishna told him, Vrindavan is not just a holy place. It's my home. And home is where the heart is. So it's my life, Vrindavan. So please don't say anything against Vrindavan. Yeah. So it's like that. Vrindavan. Super special. And time is marching on. It's 8:30. Look at that. Yeah, more or less. We should stop, I guess. Well, let me just tell you one more story. Are you okay?
Yes.
No, yeah, okay. It's the what do you call it? Triodicee.
13.
Huh? No, I know that, but something or what's the something or other Triodicee? It just passed in May.
Akshaya Tritiya.
Tritiya, excuse me. Thank you. Akshaya Tritiya. It was Akshaya Tritiya. The thing is, I'm old, you must understand. I mean, I am the oldest person here. What's your age, Prabhu?
53.
Ah, you're just a boy. You're a youth. And what's your age?
I'm 45.
Oh my God. Okay, excuse me. So it was Akshaya Tritiya, and Krishna's in Nandagram. And he notices Mother Yashoda is cooking up some snacky prasad, some samosas, pakoras, what do you call it, kanvi, Gujaratis, or paturi in South Africa, they call it paturi, and pakoras, pakoris, and dokla, etc., etc. You know what I mean? Snacky prasad. And Krishna walked in as Mother Yashoda's cooking. And of course, whenever she's cooking something for him. So Krishna just said, "Oh, Mata, is this for me?" And to his surprise, Mother Yashoda said, "No, no, it's not for you. It's for your father, Nanda Maharaj. He's going on a long journey today. And this is his, what would you call it?
Lunch.
No, in Hindi, what would you call it? Prasadam for the road? Okay, say tiffin. Well, this is his tiffin. In Russian, it's prasada vidorogo. But anyway. Yeah, so road prasadam, tiffin. Oh, really? Then Nanda Maharaj walked in, and Krishna said, "Peter, where are you going, Peter? Where are you going?" And Nanda Maharaj said, "Well, today is Akshaya Tritiya. It's the day, like it's a very special day. Yeah. So I am going to Prayag." Yeah. And Krishna said, "Peter, why are you going Prayag, Peter? Why are you going?" Nanda Maharaj said, "Because all year I've been performing material activities just to maintain my family. And I've incurred a lot of karma. So on this day, on Akshaya Tritiya, I'm going to go to Prayag, bathe in the waters of the Ganges, Yamuna, and Saraswati, and become cleansed of all the karma and come back refreshed." "Oh, okay," said Krishna. And so Nanda Maharaj, he picked up the bag of tiffin prasad for the road and said to Krishna, "Listen, before I leave, you come with me. Well, let's just go down to Pavan Sarovar and we'll bathe in Pavan Sarovar and then I'll go and you just come back." Okay, so they went down, they're going down the hill. One hand Nanda Maharaj has his prasad, and the other hand he's holding Krishna's hand. Suddenly, Krishna pulls on his hand. "Peter, Peter, Peter, give me one samosa, Peter." Just one. And Nanda Maharaj said, "No, I can't do that. I'm going on a long journey. This is all the prasadam I have. If I run out, I'll have to buy potato crisps. That won't be very good. So I can't give you anything at all." Okay. So they get down to Pavan Sarovar. They're just about to dive in when suddenly they see on the other side one big man, very opulently dressed like a demigod, and just like so like powerfully built and handsome and very special looking person. And he's rolling in the dust and just roaring with laughter. And suddenly he dived into Pavan Sarovar. And then he got out and rolled in the dust again and roared with laughter again. And Krishna said, Peter, who that man, Peter? Who that man? Nanda Maharaj said, well, I don't know. Let's go and speak to him. So they went around, and Nanda Maharaj asked him, my dear sir, what is your good name? Please tell me. And the gentleman said, my name is Prayag Raj. And Nanda Maharaj said, really? What sort of name is that? And the man said, I am the deity of that sacred place. And Nanda Maharaj said, well, what are you doing here in Vrindavan? What are you doing bathing in Pavan Sarovar? And Prayagraj said, you know, all year the people, the pilgrims come and bathe in my waters and leave all their karma on me. So one day in a year, on Akshaya Tritiya, I come to Vrindavan, I bathe in Pavan Sarovar, and get free from all the karma left by the pilgrims, and then I go back feeling refreshed. And Nanda Maharaj was sort of stunned, said, oh, I see. All right. Then Prayagraj said, look around Pavan Sarovar and see. And Nanda Maharaj looked around and he saw there were so many of these people, big, handsome men and women, beautifully dressed with jewelry, and Prayagraj said, these are the personalities of all the sacred places. You see that woman over there with the black? She's Ganga Devi. And you see the one with the green sari? She's the river Kaveri. And let's see who. And you see this one here? He is Badrik Ashram. Yeah. And Prayag pointed out a number of them and said, look, we all come here on Akshaya Tritiya, and we all bathe in Pavan Sarovar. And in this way, we get free from all the karma left on us by the pilgrims. And Nanda Maharaj was speechless. Then he just took Krishna by the hand, said, come with me. Krishna said, Peter, you're going now, Peter. You're going. You're going now. Nanda Maharaj said, no. What you going to do, Peter? What you going to do? I'm going to bathe in Pavan Sarovar and go home. Why, Peter? Why are you not going to Prayag, Peter? Why? I changed my mind. So they did. They took bath in Pavan Sarovar. Now they're going back up the hill. Prasad in the one hand, holding Krishna's hand with the other hand. And Krishna, about halfway up, Krishna pulled on his hand. Peter, give me one samosa, Peter. Just one samosa, only one, just one, only one. Nanda Maharaj looked at his bag of prasadam and just gave the whole thing to him. You take it, I don't need it. So you see, it makes the point that Vrindavan is unique. Vrindavan is unique, the most sacred place. Vrindavan's the most sacred place. And Krishna is the most sacred deity. And Krishna consciousness is the most sacred and elevated process. And the Hare Krishna mantra is the most elevated and special mantra or hymn or sound vibration. And the literatures of Krishna consciousness, Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavatam, etc., they're the most sacred and elevated of all literatures. And the devotees are the most sacred and elevated of all people. You see, it all works like that. And Vrindavan is topmost sacred place. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Okay. हमारा program क्या है? अभी little kirtan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now we got some of our mega kirtan people here, don't we?
He himself.
Oh yes. Oh. Can you please lead some kirtan?